When I was trying to conceive, I turned to the internet for help. Maybe similar to what you're doing now and listening to the Fertile Faith podcast or just researching. If you stumbled upon this podcast, like so many other women out there, I was Google searching, right? Going to Aunt Google, really searching pregnancy symptoms, fertility advice, am I supposed to have symptoms on one DPO? Just things like that. And that's when I stumbled on TTC forums, trying to conceive forums. And at first, I thought it would be a great resource, right? After all, who knows more about getting pregnant than other women who are also trying to conceive? But soon enough, those forums became my worst nightmare. Have you ever gone to a TTC forum? Have you ever looked at a fertility forum? If you're like me, you probably did in order to find some comfort or just advice in the middle of the night, during this typically, extremely emotional time, right? That's kind of when we usually go to forums. And I just quickly learned, however, that these forums can be a complete nightmare between the constant judgment and comparison, not to mention the overwhelming amount of information or lack thereof. It was nearly impossible for me to navigate my way through those discussions without feeling even more stressed out than I already was. So, in this episode, I'll share my experiences with TTC forums and offer up some better alternatives for anyone who is currently struggling with this. Hola, it's Avi, aka Octavia Steen, natural fertility doula, health coach, and creator of the faith-based business Mother Mindset. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Fertile Faith Podcast, a podcast that helps women of God who are trying to get pregnant naturally to overcome negative thoughts and balance her hormones so she no longer has to be overwhelmed and consumed by her TTC journey. I'm so glad that you're here, sis. I can't wait to dive into this episode. Today's episode is brought to you by the Fertility Prayer Checklist. The real reason why it's possible for you to get pregnant without dealing with discouragement in your TTC journey is because of the free Fertility Prayer Checklist. Grab yours now at mothermindset.com/prayer. So maybe you're here because you are a faithful listener to the Fertile Faith podcast. And if you are, I'm so glad that you're here, says hey. And if you're new here and you're wondering, what are TTC forums anyways? And why are they on this Fertile Faith podcast? Well, TTC forums, TTC standing for trying to conceive, right? These fertility forums are websites or online groups, and sometimes they're in apps, the fertility apps. And so these are websites or online groups where women who are trying to conceive can share information and advice. They can be a great resource, but they can also be very overwhelming and all consuming. And if you've ever been on a TTC forum, you know. So where can you find these forums? Well, most popular, parenting sites have them. Popular fertility apps like the Glow app, Fertility Friend, all of these different apps have them as well, like the mobile phone apps where you can chart your cycle have TTC forums. And some of the most popular TTC forums are on Baby Center, The Bump, What to Expect, sites like that. And really, they can be helpful, right? They can be helpful. They can be a great place to get information and advice from other women, right, who are trying to conceive. They can also be a great way to just connect with other women who are going through the same thing as you. So don't get me twisted. They can be helpful and they have been helpful. But I guess it's on how you use these forums in regards to your own journey. And I'm just, telling you from my own experience, the dangers, right, of the forums. And really, how it became overwhelming and consuming for my life. And if you're feeling the same way, feeling like this overwhelm and all consuming feeling, right? Your feelings are valid. That's what I just want to share on this podcast, that your feelings are valid. It can be overwhelming to be in these forums, and but they can they can be a way that we compare ourselves, right? That we walk into that comparison trap, comparing yourself to other women and feeling like you're not doing enough, when in essence you probably are doing enough, sis. And so, how can you avoid getting really overwhelmed by these forums? Well, there are a few things you can do to avoid getting overwhelmed in any type of forum, any type of TTC forum. You could only visit the forums when you have a specific question, right? Or need information on a specific topic. Going to the forums with a specific thought in mind and not just like scrolling. I feel like when I was on the forums, I was scrolling the forums like TikTok or like Instagram. It was my like daily, how like your like when you get on your computer, you automatically type in Facebook. I don't know if that's just me or if that's somebody else who does that as well. Or when you get your phone and get your phone in the morning, or wake up or go on your lunch break or whatever you do, you pick up your phone, you automatically tap Instagram or tap whatever social media app that you're, usually will scroll on. I feel like that was forums for me when I was trying to conceive. It was like an automatic, like when I was bored, when I was, not necessarily, when I picked up my phone or my laptop, I automatically went to forums. Like, what are they saying on forums from 2004, right? And it's 2018. And so, I would recommend only going to them with a specific question in mind, or a specific thing that you're looking for, like information that you're looking for, or even community, right? And also, when you go to them, don't compare yourself to other women, right? Don't compare yourself to other women. That's with anything, any type of social media, that we don't fall into the comparison trap. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's body is different. Everybody's hormones are different. Everybody eats the different things each day, right? No one has the same breakfast, the same lunch and dinner, as the next person. We all have different, ways that we take our breakfasts, or that we like, our spaghetti or whatever you're eating, right? And all of that factors into your hormones, it factors into your fertility, the different stresses of life, right? What we're going through. So everybody's journey is going to be different. So comparing yourself is unfair to yourself. Um, yeah, comparing yourself is unfair to yourself. So don't do that. Please, sis. Please. But remember that you're not alone. When go to these forums, or if you want to avoid getting overwhelmed by the forums, just remember that you're not alone. There are millions of women who are currently on a fertility journey, currently trying to conceive. You are not the only one going through this, right? And because you're not the only one going through this, it can help to go onto these forums and look for community, right? There's someone out there who is also trying to conceive, right? Who's also looking for community, is looking for someone to talk to. So remember that you're not alone. And when you get on those apps, don't feel like you're alone, right? Because someone else is on the app, on the other side of the app, on the other side of that forum, looking for community too. TTC forums can be a great resource, but they can also be overwhelming. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, take a step back and remember that you're not alone, right? Remember that you're not alone, and you can do this. And so I want to just talk a little bit about my experience with TTC forums. I joined many TTC forums when I was trying to conceive my first child, my rainbow baby Ava. And so she is now 4 years old. And so 4 years ago, or more than 4 years ago, I, started looking at these forums. I started looking at my apps, and it was every day, especially after baby dancing in the middle of the night, just, 12 a.m., 1 a.m., scrolling forums, right? And at first, it was helpful to read about other women's experiences with fertility treatments and the different pregnancy symptoms that they were having at 6 DPO or 10 DPO. However, after a while, I became obsessed. I became obsessed, right, with just opening up the forums and looking at them. And I would just spend hours reading posts and comparing myself to other women. It just became an unhealthy obsession that took over my life. I was constantly worried that I wasn't doing enough to get pregnant or that I was doing something wrong. And that forum just became an idol in my life, and it was making my TTC journey worse instead of better. So the forums were just really overwhelming, and they were filled with so much information that it was hard to know what was true and what wasn't, and actually what of any of this applies to my own journey, right? Applies to my life. And I just became fixated on trying to find fertility, journey, the perfect, I guess, fertility regimen or the right pregnancy diet. But in reality, there is no perfect answer when it comes to TTC. And that's because we're all different, right? Every woman's body is different. And what works for one woman might not work for another, right? So if you're trying to conceive, my advice is to stay away, right? Stay away from the TTC forums. They'll do more harm than good at this point, right? And a lot of them are just from like 2006, right? They're from like 20 years ago. And they're just, there are other resources out there that can provide support and information without making you feel obsessed and overwhelmed. So trust your gut instinct and don't compare yourself to the other women in these TTC forums, okay? So what can you do instead of joining a TTC forum, right? What can you do? So if you're trying to conceive, there are plenty of other resources out there that can provide support and information without making you feel like you're stuck in the comparison trap or make you feel like you're not doing enough in your journey, right? There's trying to conceive groups, right, on Facebook. And there are specifically, these TTC groups, fertility groups that are, there's some faith-based, right, fertility groups out there. Hannah's Daughter comes to mind, is a fertility group that is faith-based. My group, the Free Mother Mindset Community, and I can't think of another one off the top of my head, but there are, you can just go on Facebook and search these different groups on Facebook that can actually be a beneficial community for you. Fertility blogs, right? Like my blog, The Mother Mindset, is another place to look for credible information. So if you want credible information, go to mothermindset.com and just type in the search box. I have over 100 articles on fertility and motherhood. So if you go to the search box, you may find, right, something in regards to your journey, or you can always just shoot me an email and we can, you can ask your question there as well. Fertility podcasts like this one, there are plenty. There are so many fertility podcasts out there. A lot of there are fertility podcasts that focus more on the medicine side, that focus a lot on, I guess, the medicinal type IUI treatments. That side, there's I want to say is Fertility Friday. She focuses on fertility awareness, but she does a lot of podcasts in regards to just the different labs and hormones. So she's more versed in that. Then there is other podcasts, fertility podcasts I've listened to in the past that they don't necessarily recommend some podcasts because they are a little bit what's the word? The word for it is not raunchy. The wording, what is they abuse their languages. I can't really think of the word that I'm looking for. They curse a lot, and I don't really recommend podcasts to clients or anyone that is not glorifying God, right? I know that there's secular podcasts, but really, there's some things that we don't need to put in our ear gates, right? But there are fertility podcasts out there, so you'll want to vet, which ones you listen to. There are also books on fertility that you can read. Off the top of my head, the main book that I always recommend is Taking Charge of Your Fertility. So Taking Charge of Your Fertility is an excellent book. It covers a lot of fertility in that book. Like, questions that you have are probably answered inside of Taking Charge of Your Fertility. But there are a plethora of books on fertility. If you need suggestions, feel free to reach out to me and I can give you suggestions based on what you're going through. And then your OB-GYN or your fertility specialist can also be of great help, right? Instead of joining a TTC forum, you can go to your fertility specialist or your OB-GYN to answer questions that you may have in regards to your body. So these are all great options that can provide support and information during your TTC journey. And really, you can also go and search for a fertility coach, or you can reach out to me. I am a natural fertility coach, a certified natural fertility coach. And, many women do not know that fertility specific help is out there, right? Fertility coaching is out there. So one way you can find a community is just by searching for a coach, right? That will work with you and that will work with your situation. If you want to learn more about fertility coaching, I just actually did a podcast, the last podcast about fertility coaching and what it is and what it entails. So you can go back and listen to that one. But many coaches have these free communities that you can join and help you along the way. You can also, in order to find like your TTC community, you can just find like-minded women, right? Find like-minded women, those women of God who are, there for you, who are going to help you through this journey. It is so important to just reach out to like-minded women and really have the community behind you in order to ask these different questions, and go to them, or go to God, right? Instead of going to these forums and making an idol out of these forums or these different groups that you're going to. But if you want a faith-based fertility group, faith-based fertility community, you can always look into the Fertility Mindset Mentorship Group. It is my fertility membership, that really helps you to prepare for pregnancy, create healthy habits in pregnancy without sacrificing your peace, right? Without sacrificing your peace. So in the Fertility Mindset Mentorship, we talk about surrendering our journeys to God in order to find peace on this journey, as well as changing your mindset around fertility and preparing your body to get pregnant through different simple lifestyle changes and mindset shifts. So if you are interested in that, you can go to fertilitymindsetmentorship.com and look into our membership. So that's it for this podcast. I'll see you in the next one. Oh my goodness, sis. I pray that today's episode was helpful. I pray that it was helpful for you. If it was, please leave a review to help this podcast reach other TTC women of faith, and tag me at coach.avi on Instagram so I can shout you out. I can't wait to help you balance your hormones and deepen your faith so that you can get pregnant without the overwhelm. Blessings and baby dust.